So team, it's 7:30, so I'm going to open this meeting. Okay, this is Bob Connor, Chair of the Newbury Police Station Building Project Construction Committee. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. When I call your name, please say present. Martha Taylor.
Present.
John Keller. Eric Svan. Chief Riley.
Present.
Deputy Chief Lucy.
Present.
Okay, Steve.
Present.
Zell.
Present.
And Jeff Walker.
Present.
Okay. I see Jim, we have Jim Moran that's on the line. So, introduction. Good morning. This open meeting of the Newbury Police Station Building Project Construction Committee is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19. In order to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirements of open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of the public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. As I go on to page 2, the order, which you can find posted with the agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comments. Please note this meeting is being recorded and that the attendees are participating by video conference. All right, team. Well, that takes care of all of the preambles that we knew normal for governmental meeting. I see John Keller has joined the meeting. Okay. If we turn to your meeting packet and you go to tab 1, it is the minutes from the July meeting. Why don't we take a moment to review? Yeah, I apologize again with the lateness of getting these last night. Between power and lack of internet, it was a challenge to assemble the documents for the packet. Poor John Keller probably got 11 of the same emails or texts from my cell phone, my computer. I didn't realize we didn't have internet access. So John and Steve, thank you both for your patience. You were getting bombarded with a repetitive message. And I assure you it was a technology glitch and not my age. All right. So team, any comments or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, do we have a second? Any further discussion? Okay, I'm going to do a roll call vote. Martha Taylor.
Aye.
John Keller.
Aye.
Chief Riley.
Aye.
John Lucy.
Aye.
And Bob Connors votes aye. Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. If you turn to tab 2, we have payment requisition number 8. We have the letter of recommendation from Vertex. We have the warrant cover sheet that's been prepared. And we have a fully executed application and certification for payment signed by the architect and the contractor, properly notarized. Okay, do we have any questions? All right, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, any other questions or discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Martha Taylor,
Yes.
John Keller,
Yes.
Chief Riley,
Yes.
Deputy Chief Lucy,
Yes.
Bob Connors votes yes. Chief, I will get copies of these down to the station for you, for both your and John's signature. If you can get those over to Martha, that would be great.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
Yep, and I'll get those to Eileen.
Okay. All right, if we turn to tab 3. This is the context monthly invoice. It's been reviewed. Again, I apologize. Steve had sent out the letter of recommendation, and I just couldn't get it into the packet in time. I've sent that out as a separate document to all of you, so if you haven't received it, let me know. But we have the letter of recommendation. It's within contract. It's their monthly fee. And do we have a motion?
Actually, I have one comment on, I did get the recommendation letter from Steve, and I think it was a typo. It actually said BCC construction and not context.
Oh, my apologies. I'll get that revised. That was with the data and such. That was about 10 after 6 when I did that this morning. So
Yeah, I
I'll
figured
correct that.
would
Thank
be-
you, Martha.
Okay. Well, thank you, Martha. All right, do we have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion outside of the adjustment to the letter of recommendation? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. All in favor, say aye. Martha Taylor,
Aye.
John Keller,
Aye.
Chief Riley,
Aye.
Deputy Chief Lucy,
Aye.
and Bob Connors votes aye. The motion carries unanimously. If you turn to tab 4, we have the monthly Vertex invoice. John Kelly, you've had a chance to review this.
Yes, I did.
Okay, and we have the warrant cover sheet prepared. So do we have a motion to accept?
Motion to accept.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion or any questions on the Vertex monthly invoice?
Yeah, Bob, I think I've got the wrong warrant number. It should be 2104 on there. So if you could just correct that and initial it.
Okay, so let me just see. So is that on the appropriation account number?
Yeah, let me just double check it.
21. Oh, vendor number, it's,
No, I think John's referring to the warrant number up in the upper right, the VW.
okay, so it says VW 21-03.
Yeah, let me, I can
You think
pull it
that-
right up here. Give me a second.
Okay, I can change that on my end too, John, and
2104. Yeah, it should be 2104, not 2103.
okay, I will make that change when I attach it to the invoice and sign it and drop it off, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. All those in favor say aye. Martha Taylor,
Aye.
John Keller,
Aye.
Chief Riley,
Aye.
Deputy Chief Lucy,
Aye.
and Bob Connors votes aye. Okay, on tab 5, you have change order number 2. If you recall, team, there were 4 PCOs that have been previously reviewed and approved by the committee at the June and July meeting. PCO 3R, PCO 10R3, PCO 11, and PCO 12. So this is the amendment to the contract. It's been fully executed by all parties. And this is actually a review item, FYI, that no action by the committee is actually required. Okay. So any questions or discussion on change order 2? All right. Thank you. I will note we're still under budget at this time, which is great. Tab 6, we do not have a 2-week look ahead available. Steve or Zell, if you want to jump in and give us a little update. I mean, obviously, framing and finishing the exterior envelope is certainly the priority, but I would anticipate mobilization of MEP and HVAC is getting underway as well.
I think you've just summed up the status with what you've just said. Continued exterior, completion of the exterior and the framing, and mobilization of the mechanicals inside the building when that is allowed with the exterior envelope completed.
Yeah. I just want to make mention, Zell, the exterior vapor barrier protocol that Context has designed. It's about as impressive as I've ever seen. Wrapping up vapor barrier up in between the rafters and up to the roof really adds a whole new dimension of a continuous vapor barrier on exterior walls.
That was the intent to really make a complete envelope as best as possible. So we try to do the best we can with the type of construction we have. So.
No, it's very impressive and greatly appreciated. The town has a library that was built probably a dozen years ago, and it suffered a number of issues. One of them was, consistent leaking around windows, doors, flashings that became a real challenge for the time. Steve, why don't you just walk us through? I know that BC did a mock-up of the Pella windows, and that Gail has been brought on board for commissioning the exterior envelope and doing the water test on the windows. Why don't you just give the committee a quick review on that, if you would?
Sure. So Gail has done one field inspection, was conducted yesterday, of the work that you just were mentioning in terms of the envelope sealing and detailing. And the plan is to have the first window test conducted next Tuesday. We have submitted and distributed a protocol for that window test procedures. The BC Construction is reviewing that with Pella just to make sure everybody's on board with what the test will be and the pressures and how all that will be conducted, so that next Tuesday we'll have a clear protocol, an accepted protocol, and then we'll do those window tests next Tuesday. The plan is to then follow after the window test with continued, probably weekly at this point, inspections for progress of the envelope construction and detailing with a punch list, if you will, that will get created with each site visit, and we'll have the contractor answer item by item to those items listed in the field inspection, so that all of that gets tracked properly and is completed and detailed properly.
Okay, thank you. Sal, do you want to give us a quick update from your perspective at Context?
One of the things that I wanted to add or just comment on regarding the actual testing is, as we noticed from the response from Gail with respect to the inspection, there were some items that they felt were incomplete and or not properly done of the installation. And I raised the question whether or not the difference in the detailing between what we have in our documents, which was set up for the base bid windows, which are fiberglass windows, which were actually a different window section. Whether or not that has been considered in the overall plan, because the Pella windows basically are wood-clad, aluminum-clad wood, and are a different section, and they also require different installation procedures. So my concern was, and I expressed it to Steve, that Gail should be reviewing the Pella specifications and the Pella construction shop drawings, which were reviewed and approved. So they have caveats on the difference between their details and the details that are shown in our documents, which we knew would happen because it's a different window, because it's the alternate that was accepted. So we're trying to make sure that all of the information is properly reviewed prior to the test taking place, so that everybody's on board with making sure that all of those particulars are in place as requested by all parties, really, to make sure everybody's in agreement about what's being, how the window's installed, and what the parameters of the test are. So,
Yeah, thank you, Zell. Yeah, I did have a chance to read that email thread that Steve received from Gail. And I think part of the confusion may simply be BC was doing a mock-up of the window for trim, everything else, not actually, at least in my understanding, not actually getting ready for the water test. It was to close out how they were going to do their shadow box and all that. And
maybe,
yeah.
that's not clear exactly. Yeah.
So Pella has a very simple protocol to follow. Very familiar with the product, so I think it's
Yeah, it should all be fine. It's just that it seemed there was some confusion on either on BC's part or on somebody's part about exactly what's to be expected.
right.
We have to get that straightened out.
Well, that's why we have such a good design team and a commissioning agent to ensure that.
Certainly.
All right, any other discussion we want to add or questions for Zell or Steve before we get into our hot list? All right, if you turn to tab 7. I apologize. I didn't change the date to August 5th. I left it at 7/8. So all the content has been updated. I'm going to blame it on the internet. Yeah. So why don't we quickly go through these? I mean, typically we've discussed many of these beforehand. Item 1, payment rec number 8 has been submitted, approved. We received a letter of recommendation by Vertex. Item 3, PCO 4, the helical drilling status. I know that's ongoing, Steve, and we'll put that back on the front burner at,
Yep.
I think, once we're weather tight. Same thing, ground improvements, rear parking lot. Number 5, framing, roofing, trim, windows, mobilization, start date, duration. Dave's not on the call. So we'll probably get a better update for the couple of us that will be at the next meeting for the weekly construction meeting.
Yep.
But Steve, do you have any comments to add on that other than it looks like everything's getting teed up?
No further beyond that. We have the attention of BC Construction. Mike Cresta, the principal, has spent a significant amount of time on site, and we noticed the speed and rate of work when Mike is on site is greatly improved over when he is not. And we knew that going in, that the more he's involved, the better the project goes. And that's exactly what we've had over the past month or so. And that continues. We definitely have their full attention. and progress is going very well.
Okay. All right, Zell, any questions or comments on the framing roof trim package?
No, I think that there were a few minor issues that along the way that have been addressed and that we got past, and everything seems to be rolling along now.
Okay. The issue on the intake louvers, it is the consensus, certainly of myself, I think, well, let me not make any assumptions. Team, there was a question on the shape and location of the intake louver over the front bump out. Originally, they were rectangular. I think a good question was raised that the elevation of the bump out roof may create an opportunity for snow to be drawn in on the intake. And there was a recommendation to change it to a triangular louver.
That gets raised up into the gable.
Right, it's tight to the gable. You all received copies of that. I don't think it's really a question that the triangular one is the way to go, but Martha, what were any comments on your part? I know Zell wants to release this.
That makes sense to me.
Okay. Anyone else have any comments on that, Chief?
No.
Okay.
And I thought I saw something from Eric that seemed to also.
Right. So Zell, we'll proceed with the recommendation of going with the triangular shaped louver at its raised elevation.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to have some some revisions to the ductwork behind those louvers, and that's part of the process. And the louvers will have to be revised, and there'll be some costs associated with this change, but we kind of knew that. So.
Well, that just falls within the 7% of the project that you can't close out by drawings. I think it's a good catch at this point, rather than feeling snow intake, having it melt and wondering where it's leaking from. The other question too, Zell, was where are we at on the TCS tower blocking? Kind of strange that they're asking you for tower blocking, but it's engineering.
I think that it's really just they want to locate the bracing that's in the wood framing. It's the collar beam that this bracing ties back to inside the attic, and they want an exact elevation of that beam so that they can finish the framing for it. And the reason that it's a question is because on the original vendor shop drawing design for that antenna, they have a suggested elevation height, but it's not a fixed elevation height. And our documents that we issued originally did not actually we didn't specify the exact elevation of that. So we're making sure that the elevation that we provide for them will work properly, and will also needs to be verified by the vendor, because it will be slightly different than what they had proposed. They had proposed a plus or minus number, and we are now giving them an exact number, and we just have to verify that it's okay within the parameters of where they want the support. So that's why it's a little it was a little confusing as to why it was an issue. And the only issue is that they want an exact elevation of that beam. So we want to be sure before we give that to them. And so that's why that came up. But it'll be resolved today.
Okay. So getting back to the intake louver, BC will create a PCO for your review and sign off as.
Yes, they will. Once they have a finished final design, which we will issue, and So it'll involve several trades. Well, it'll involve the HVAC trade, certainly. They have to revise how they're connecting to it. They have to make a different plenum box behind the louvers, and so that's going to be a piece of it. Plus, the louvers will be changed; they'll be larger, and so the framing has to be modified to what it was going to be, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, we will do that.
Okay. All right. Item number 6, interior finishes, colors, sample board. I know that we had released all of the colors that were submitted. When will the actual sample board, not that this is a hot item, it's just on my list here, so, but when would you anticipate the actual sample board showing the selected colors and fabrics? And
We can finalize the board for if you'd like to have it to see it. We can bring it up to the job site, or if you want the physical board to review, just to have. Is that what you're?
no, I think what it would be great when we actually get to that level of installing all the surface finishes, having it on site or one of the trailer as the legend for what we're doing would be.
No, we'll certainly do that.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. Detention doors and frames status. We have any update on those? I know that they were the long lead time.
It's all been finally released several weeks ago, I believe. And I think it's all in production, and we haven't heard I don't think Jeff has given us a delivery date, but I think that as of now, they're on schedule. They should be delivered, the frame should be delivered in time for the CMU block walls to go up. That should coincide more or less. And they noted that even if they're not on site while the masons are doing the walls, they can just leave the openings a little larger and then fit them in when they arrive. But they didn't seem to think it was a problem scheduling. So as of now, that's all we know.
Okay. The next number of items are really more for the construction meeting. Why don't we jump back in at item number 12, Comcast Verizon circuits for 911. John, I know you've been on top of that. And
like he's on the phone there, Bob.
yeah. So I'll give you the update because John had provided that. He's been in touch with Andy from 911, and
Sorry about that.
oh, sorry to let your real job get in the way of your volunteer service here.
No worries. What were you looking for me for? I'm sorry.
You know what? It was just because it's on the list. Comcast Verizon circuits for 911. Right. Do we any update on how we kick that off, John? Do we need to generate?
Yeah, the general consensus. Yeah, the general consensus seems to be when we're ready to have them do a site visit. They want to send a text to do a site visit. I just talked to Dave about it, well, last week now. So I'm guessing, and I'll float it to you guys, when the stairwells and the pans are done and poured and you can access, the upper floors more safely and OSHA compliantly, I'll arrange something, or Dave, one of us will arrange something to have them come in. We can actually have them see exactly what's going on. So that's where we're at. So we're kind of in a holding pattern until BC or Dave says it's we're ready to do a site visit.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Item 13, transformer install National Grid. I know that we're actually on schedule, ahead of schedule on that. At the construction meeting, I'd even suggest we hold off on putting the transformer in unless there is a reason, simply because all the billets that go around it would just become more of an obstruction on a pretty tight site, but that's just my 2 cents. Item 14, landscape loom testing status. I know we'll get an update at our construction meeting. Commissioning agents, Steve, you've provided us with a quick overview of what Gail will be doing. for the exterior envelope. That will still leave working out the final details of all the mechanical commissioning on the MEP. But certainly getting that exterior envelope commissioning going is critical. Okay, 2-week look ahead schedule. I think you summed it up, Steve. Framing, getting to a weather tight exterior, and starting of mobilization of MEP.
Yeah, Bob.
Yes, John.
I saw Chris the other day, and he said that they got the go-ahead for rough electric, so electricians are on site now.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so they're getting some momentum there.
Yeah, I'm impressed, John, with the filed subbidders. Very organized. All their cross coordination between the trades, very good. They're all business, so I think that will bode well and help the schedule as well. Okay, updated project schedule that has been attached to the pay rec, and we're still on for the end of December to be substantial completion. The caveat always is going to be what impacts, if any, COVID will have to schedule deliveries or manpower. But to date, we've been very fortunate. Okay, construction start time, parking, delivery. John, why don't you bring us up to speed? John Lucy's been looking at the parking situation as the site becomes more populated. John is implementing a number of changes to parking locale. And John, why don't I let you start off and go on from here?
Sure. So as it would be, that phone call that I was on, that was with James Surratt, and they helped us out. We've actually posted no parking on the south or the eastbound lane of Morgan Ave. So across the street of the construction is all no parking down the full length of the road, and we have put in place one-way only traffic that'll be heading eastbound. So basically the only traffic that the construction should be seeing or dealing with for the most part is traffic that's heading in towards Montgomery Park or away from Route 1A. And then traffic trying to exit Montgomery Park would be detoured to Graham Ave, which will spit them right out onto 1A, just the next street over. So that's all in place right now. I just got the confirmation from James that they have done that. I haven't seen it. I don't know what kind of fine tuning it'd be, but it's pretty straight up. The other thing we've done is put a series of cones favoring the traffic side, giving them a little bit more room, but a set of cones like right down the middle of the road, not so close that construction traffic can't, navigate it, but enough to remind people that, that's stay on that side. That's the lane for travel. And that hopefully I'll go out and look at it, but I'm hoping that'll kind of alleviate a lot of issues. I did talk to Chris. I tried to get hold of Dave. Obviously he's having communications issues, but I did talk to Chris yesterday and apprised him of what the plan was. And he said that'd be perfect. That'll work out very, very well for them. As it would be, there's a lot of tradesmen vans and vehicles and things out there now. Things are starting to buzz. They're like ants all over that building now, and and obviously they have their equipment. So hopefully that's the primary place to park is right along Morgan Ave, right in front of the site. Spillover vehicles. We're also clearing out the parking that's in front of the police station, or I guess technically beside the police station on the butchery side. We're moving some trailers over to the other side of town. We're moving some surplus cruisers that we have. We just recently surplused. Well, those will be moving to the other side of town. So in short, all that parking will be available for the construction as well. And I'm telling our employees to park on the other side, their POVs, so there should be no issues with them using those lots. And as a last resort, which I really don't think we're going to need, I think we're going to be in pretty good shape from what I'm gleaning from Chris, is I am trying to get into communication with the new superintendent of District 4 Mass DOT. I had my guy. I had him on speed dial, but he retired a couple weeks ago. So there's a new guy who I haven't met yet, but basically we need to get permission because it's a state highway. We need to get permission from District 4 to allow parking along there. I have no thoughts that it'll be denied, but it'll be a good backup to the backup if we needed to have some space. But, you know, it's a little bit of ways away from the site, so it's not as convenient, but should we have an issue, you know, spotty issues or whatever, it'd be a good place for spillover. So that's the neighborhood has been advised. We sent out a reverse 911 to the neighborhood and everybody involved with the new traffic pattern. We didn't get any you know, negative or positive feedback from anybody that I know of. You know, I mean, it's, you know, it's really not a big inconvenience. I told Chris to make sure that his workers are respectful of the driveways, making sure that the people on the same side, you know, the goat farm and, you know, the new tiles, you know, that area, their driveways have a good line of sight so they can easily and safely exit their driveways without any hindrance. And the butchery will not be affected because the one-way starts at the east corner of their lot. So it's still two-way traffic in front of the butchery, and anything heading east, you know, that's the one-way. So I think that pretty much wraps it up.
Thank you, John. I think that it's being proactive. I mean, I think the big thing is this isn't set in stone. You can modify this, get feedback from the neighborhood. I mean, we all understand that the immediate neighborhood is impacted with all of this construction activity for, you know, the next half a dozen months. So whatever we can do to keep the site safe, accessible, and the neighbors not inconvenienced as best we can is certainly the goal of the committee.
Yep.
All right. So any other matters or concerns from the design team that you want to bring up? Sal, anything that you have you want to add?
I don't think I have anything of any concern right now.
Okay. Steve, how about yourself?
We've covered all the items I had. Thank you.
Okay. Chief, one last item. Now that you've announced your retirement and you're retiring at September 30th, want to thank you for all your years of service. It's a remarkable story of you becoming a patrolman, working your way up as chief, and big footsteps to fill, my friend. And thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You've been a great team player to work with during this whole process. But I have one item on your list that I'm going to ask you about right now.
Go ahead.
MEMA and Seabrook Station on our grant request for the gen set, and I know with COVID it's been a challenge, but it's on my list, brother. So I
Oh yeah. No, that'll be taken care of, but it is in. I haven't heard anything about it, obviously with COVID and everything going on. It's difficult. I can't just drive out there and put the strong arm on them like I'd like to, but it is in with MEMA. And MEMA's gone through some changes in Region 1 where the head of Region 1 has left for another job and there's a new person in there. So some of my contacts are still there. So it's on there. It'll get taken care of.
So Mike, I'm going to keep you on the agenda for our September meeting.
Oh, absolutely.
So if you could have an update there, or
Yep.
assign this to Deputy Chief Lucy so we can bother him from this point forward.
You
I'll
know
leave
what?
that up to you.
Until September 30th, I'll still be here doing my job, but if I can't get
Okay.
it done before then, it'll be thrown on his lap. I promise you that. So,
Great.
Okay. So team, that's the end of the meeting packet. Why don't we go around and see if anyone has any comments, concerns that they'd like to add? Martha, any comments or suggestions you want to bring up?
No, I'm all set, thank you.
Okay. Let me go through here. Chief, how about yourself?
I'm good. Everything looks great over there.
Okay, John Keller,
All set, it looks great.
John Lucy,
No issues. Everything looks good.
Selectman Walker. I've been watching you. You've been very busy today watching this meeting. Any comments, Jeff, or suggestions you'd like to add?
Thank you, Bob. I'm fine.
Okay. Zell, how about yourself?
No, I'm good.
Okay, Steve Theron?
All set. Thank you.
Okay. And Jim Moran, thank you for joining. So, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor? Wait. You know what? I'm adjourning the meeting. We don't need a motion to adjourn a meeting, I don't think, by Robert's rules. So, meeting has come to a close. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Yes.
Bye-bye.